Hello, hello, hello. Greetings and welcome back to the Soul Producers. It is 2026, and I am joined by my two good friends and co-producers, fastcart FC and Serious Fun. Happy New Year's, gentlemen. How are you both doing?
I'm good. I can't see myself, but
I
I
can't see
believe
myself either.
I believe I believe I'm doing well.
You can't
So,
see yourself? Really? You guys aren't getting
No, we don't
video?
see. It blinked and went out.
yeah.
Really? Let me
There,
There it
now it's
is.
back. Now
There it
it's
That's
back.
is.
that's weird. It just did that on its own. I don't know. I didn't touch anything, so I don't know what's going on. Discord's freaking out
The gremlins are
already.
here early in
I
2026.
know. Yeah, this is a sign of things to come, evidently. Anyway, we are so happy to be here with you all as we enter into a new year. You know, one of the cool things, if you want to keep track of the Soul Citizens in general, is that anytime you see a number after the fourth number, such as 2026, you'll know that six means that we're going into our sixth year of being a podcast in the Star Citizen community. And we want to start out the year by saying, thank you to everyone who has continued to support us, who have listened to us, whether it's on iTunes, Spotify, whether wherever it is, anywhere in social media. You guys have been really supportive of us and gracious in taking this journey with us, and we just want to say thank you for that. Our anniversary will be coming up in March, but we're approaching it. It'll be March before you know it, and so we haven't been around. I think during the month of December, we didn't get a chance to do a producer's video because so much was going on. And right now, each year, we, after the holiday, Christmas holiday, we usually take a 2 to 3 week break ourselves. We stream about 50, roughly 50 weeks out of the year. Sometimes we have one or two where we're maybe not out there, but it is a long year for us. And it gives us a time to take a break while CIG is also rejuvenating over the holiday season. But we wanted to do one for the month of January, and we titled it Look into the Future. And so we picked some topics that well, I picked some topics, I should say I, because it was not a joint effort.
It was not a group
Uh,
decision.
but I wanted to hear my
We
co
agreed that you would pick a
that I
topic.
could pick the
There you
topic,
go.
right?
There you go.
And so but I picked some topics that I would love to hear from my good friends, my brothers here, and their ideas and thoughts on. But they're also big topics that have arisen over the past year. In fact, some of these have been around for a while, but as we're going into 2026, they're even more relevant than any other time. So we're going to jump right into that. So I'm going to kick it off with the very first of these mini topics. And some of this is a bit of a review from 2025 going into 2026. As you all know, gentlemen, last year, CIG took a different approach to community communication and its development by changing their cadence from what would normally be quarterly updates when it comes to updates to the persistent universe to the game Star Citizen. And they ended up putting out, if I'm not mistaken, 10 updates during the year of 2025. Almost, you could probably say anywhere from every 4 to 6 weeks, a new patch was dropped. There were only a couple months where they didn't do that. Um, and it was different. But they had told us at the beginning of the year that their focus would be on the performance of the game, stability of the game, addressing some issues in relation to bugs that had been in existence for quite a while, and to just try to make the game more approachable and more playable. But they also somewhat inferred that maybe we wouldn't be receiving as much content, that that may be a compromise. But as the year went on, there was content that was being dropped. You know, each one of the update pages often offered not only fixes, but also there was some new things that we saw from like the narrative team. We saw activities being introduced, moving from dynamic events to activities. Uh, we saw the introduction of engineering, which was a major uh, game feature that CIG had been talking about for quite a while. And then the year culminated, and we're going to talk about this next one later, so I don't want to spend too much time. I'm just using this as an example. VR was brought in on an experimental level. So there was a compromise, and one of those compromises was in the areas of how we get information through ISC and SCL, Inside Star Citizen and Star Citizen Live. um, the pre-recorded and the live shows that they do, which were normally weekly, bi-weekly. And then we only got about what? I don't know, Fastcard. How many ISCs and SCLs do you think we got
It felt like
total through
six.
the year? Like
It
maybe six throughout
felt
the
like
whole
six,
year.
maybe eight for all I know, but it felt like six. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We got way fewer than previous years.
Yeah, I wonder if like it was like maybe three ISCs, like you said, and three SCL, something like that. Wasn't a lot. Not like the normal, right? And so, uh, Sirius, I'll go to you first on this one. How do you feel about that cadence and how they did things last year? And do you feel that CIG will or should or shouldn't contain this same format for 2026?
Well, the cadence of updates was good because I enjoyed the narratives and the gameplay that accompanied the narratives, and so I that cadence was I enjoyed. If they've got more narrative and can bundle it into the systems and features that they have and are introducing, I'd love to see that. When it comes to ISC and SCL, I always want more information, right? So I am somebody who laments the period of time where we had around the verse and reverse the verse and bug snatchers and the lot. I don't lament that time. I lament the loss of that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always want more information. I understand uh, some of the reasoning, but I still miss it.
Yeah.
And so I would definitely like to see more shows and content, um, even if they remain these 8 to 10 minute behind the ship snippets. I just want more of them.
Yeah.
Um, to have so few shows and then to have some of those things be so short felt diminished
Mm-hmm.
on the information side. Um, we also know that Jared lost his father last year. I don't know whether that impacted the pace and stuff. I know that he was also dealing with some health issues. So my hope is that everybody's healthy, everybody's back better, um, and that if that did play a role, that 2026 is different, a different experience for that team, for him, and for everybody else.
Yeah, I do have to issue a correction because Serious Fun just reminded me. We did get quite a few behind the ships, so we got like almost one every patch behind the ship, or sometimes two every patch. So
Yeah.
we did get quite a few behind the ship. But as far as ISC and SEL, those were rare. So they kind I don't want to say it balanced it out because it definitely didn't feel like it. But behind the ship picked up a bit of the slack.
Mm. Okay. FC, what do you think? Do you think that they should continue this type of cadence and what they did in 2026, or do you? I know there's pros and cons to it. What do you think?
I think CID probably wants to continue the cadence because they made a record-breaking year. They made more money last year because of the cadence and the patches. Because every patch almost had a ship, or at least one ship, and that improved their funding for 2025. So if they can continue that into 2026, I say I don't know. This will be another record-breaking year, but it should be a better year than 2024 and previous year. So for CID, they probably want to. As if they should, you have to think about Squad 42 too. Also, so this will be they're still trying to get that out, and I I don't know when. We don't know when. But I have a prediction that when crunch time comes, they will take off people from Star Citizen development and put them back on Squad 32 to get that push. And then once it's out and they put out the day one patch or whatever to fix on the bug, then they'll put some of the Squad 42 people back on Star Citizen. So uh, that's my prediction. Um, Hopefully, they'll be able to manage it better than that. But you know, we don't know. But as far as ISC and SCO, I wish they would do more ISC, but I think this will be another year of maybe they just do some behind the ships like they did in previous in last year. We'll have to see about that.
Mm,
You make a great point, Fastcart, in that John Crew and the ship team have already told us that they intend to keep a similar amount of drops of platforms, whether it's ships or vehicles, this year. So it's going to be in the high 20s again. So the question, I think, and Griff, we haven't heard from you, but the question, I think, includes, will those ships be accompanied by patches? Because if that's the case, then we will probably get the same update cadence or very similar one.
yeah. I try not to. It's difficult, but I try not to be nostalgic about the development process. And my question, when Fastcard said, "Well, I would want them to continue ISC," then my question to push back is why? Because
Oh, I
ISCs,
oh,
let me explain. Because
mm-hmm.
ISCs have always been talking about what they're working on and what they want to do, and I think that the difference this year was to something else you said, Fastcard. We didn't hear them talk about ships. We got them delivering ships, and there was a big difference between talking and producing. And the fact that they moved into this whole thing of no longer concept ships and stuff, first of all, that kills half of the conversation, you know, because they could talk about a concept ship, then they could do several videos about, this concept ship and the progress of what they're doing in it. And so, what's the Inside Star Citizen about? Now, I'm not saying that Inside Star Citizen is exclusively about ships. I'm just saying, instead of talking about stuff, they delivered. They delivered, was it 27 ships?
27 platforms, I think 25
Platforms,
ships.
vehicles was 25, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying 25 shows or 25 ships. Which one do you think gives them more money? Well, the revenue
Yeah.
shows over ships. We're paying for shows, but they're paying for ships. Now, I'm not saying, is there a correlation? I don't know, but I do understand, Fastcar. Just don't get me wrong. I love the platform, the IS and the SL, because we're the people who love hearing about it. It's not. We just want to hear what's going on and how things are going and what they're thinking about. It is a little bit empty when something just pops up and we don't get to hear the story that came along with it, because we've been used. That's the nostalgia part, right? We're used to hearing how we came to this and seeing the gray box and the white box. Think about that. A lot of those ships we didn't see Squadron until the freaking jump point came out. We didn't see how the ship was built and all the concepts and the ideas and all that. And that's the nostalgia side that I like. Um, but the alternative was delivery, and the fact that people responded to delivery. Whether that, and I know we've all wished we could see what the numbers are when it comes to ship sales, because I'm curious as to, did this extra revenue that came in this year, how much did new ships have an effect on it, and how much was it just the fact that people's enjoyment of the game didn't have to be a new ship? Maybe they bought an MSR. You know what I mean? Or maybe it was the people that were happy that their Perseus came in, so now they
Mm.
bought paints. You see what I'm saying? So I'm really curious as to see. I know we don't see those numbers with that level of detail, but I would love to know when this revenue comes in, whether it's a banner year or moderate year, how is money being spent? A lot of us old guys didn't go out and buy a lot of new stuff, but we did a lot of CCUing or melting or refining of our fleets, where maybe some new people, who weren't around when the Perseus launched, right, or when the Polaris launched, they were the ones that went out there and spent fresh money. I'm still amazed at the people who freaking bought. What was it? The Idrises flew out the window again this year. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Idris Javelin,
yeah. I mean, it's.
Polaris,
Yeah, and so,
Polaris.
so you've got the one group of people who had already bought those things years ago. You've got another group of people who've come in and put fresh money in. You've got another group of people who maybe saw how the game is forming out and decided to say that, well, man, I've got a group of people now. There are more people in our org now. Let's go buy Idris. There's so many reasons how and why people may have spent money this year. Um, but
Let me just push
oh,
back real quick
sure.
on some of that.
Hmm.
For me, You don't. Yeah, I am nostalgic, right? I said it, right?
Hmm.
The going all the way back to the Ben Lesnick days of all those shows.
Mhm.
I recognize that those were the halcyon days that we're probably not getting back. And you raise a good point in that, the question is, should we, or should we get a new form of content, right, that matches what they're doing now? I think a middle ground that I think speaks to the future that we got, and I think it was during what they called the Journey to 4.0, was a show called Design Brief,
Yeah.
right? And I'd love to see the return of that in a very thick and robust way
Mm.
for the run up to 1.0,
Mm.
right? And so, for example, if y'all remember the document that Richard Tyrer gave us, we got Council, the Mercenary Guild, the Imperial Sports Federation, the
Mhm.
Academy of Science,
Yeah.
the resource workers, how are they designing these guilds and these experiences? Let's hear from you,
Yeah.
CIG, and let's get that backer feedback in open development
Mhm.
so that we can begin to understand how you're thinking about these things and how they'll integrate together.
Yeah.
Um, not only ship usage, but ground vehicle usage, the
Mhm.
development of these planets. I'd love to see a design brief on the planets, on systems. I mean, I remember we used to get videos when they were just thinking about colonial settlements,
Mhm.
how one building might look in the settlement, and that
Right.
was 15 minutes of the show.
Right.
I don't know if they don't think we're interested in that anymore, but we are.
Yeah.
We're very interested in all that. And
Well, you are.
so,
You are. Because I
yes,
guarantee you there's another
the
group of people
royal
out
we.
there. There's another group of people out there who are, and I get where it comes from. It's like until we see it, I don't need to see it. Just deliver it. There's another group of people out there who all that detail,
Yeah, but I
vision.
don't even know why they're here, Griff, because
Well,
then
well,
just go away and come back when it's done. If you don't want to see
yeah,
it,
I'm just saying there's
if
another
you don't
group
want
of
to see
people
it,
who want. I know,
you know?
and again, this goes into the whole thing about, like I said, delivery versus vision. And there are people who want that level of detail, and there are other people who are just like how it is. There's some people who don't watch SCL, but they'll watch ISC, right? Because ISC
Right.
is but they don't care about the devs and how the minutia. They don't care, and I hear you. There are a group of us who do. I get it. I agree. I agree.
I, I'm going to go back to and to this point. You asked me. I'm also nostalgic because I remember back in 2017, 2016, there used to be 5 shows in 1 week that they
Hmm.
had. They had Citizens of the Stars. They had ISC. They had SCO. Well, back then it was around the verse and beyond
Reverse the
and
verse.
behind it, reverse the verse. Lawmaker's Guide to the Galaxy and
Ship
Bug
shape,
Smashers.
ship shape, big bug
Ship Shape.
smashes. Yeah,
Yeah, that
glitch witch or whatever it was
so
called. They're
so
hilarious.
I enjoyed that, but I know that was too much. I can acknowledge that was too much, but I guess it. I I enjoy ISC and I enjoy SCO, so that's what it is for me. But
Yeah.
I have a question for y'all. Do y'all feel that the subscribers got their money's worth last year? That the subscriber money is what's supposed to funding the behind the scenes look and stuff like that.
I'll say this. I've given up on keeping track of where my subscription money goes. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, there are times when the subscription stuff is great. Let's say that
Hmm.
take the production of shows out, because it's not just the production of shows, even though that's a part of it.
Right.
I feel the same way about Flair. You know what I mean? Sometimes the Flair is on point and I'm like, ooh, and there's sometimes I see Flair and it's like, I could get rid of this. I'm never going to use this. And so because it's all kind of hodgepodge, if it was all about production, the TV production, then yeah, I probably would feel like, yeah, we got a little short change this year. Um, but like you said, we've ridden that wave from a bunch of shows to a few shows to, and the same thing with Flair. And then it's not just Flair, there's the discounts. I mean, we get the discount stuff. There's other things that are involved. But I would understand some people who might feel, because if they really look forward to those shows, if they're not getting them, that they might feel like, well, they may have in fact subscribed because of those shows, right? Not because of the 20% discount or the 10% discount or the flair. So I could understand if someone did feel a certain kind of way.
Yeah, for me, I mean, for me, I like I said, I always want more information. So, um, more information, the better. Did I feel like what happened last year sat in a reasonable context? There was a reasonable why for why it was the way that way last year? Yes. Um, I have just given the benefit of the doubt that the vast majority of the company is trying to get Squadron 42 done,
Mm-hmm.
right? And stuff really can't get in the way of that. There are some covenants in their documents that relate to a 2026 launch of Squadron 42,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that for me was the overall context for last year. And so I had a lot of flexibility for last year.
Yeah.
But again, going forward, they have told us that it's 4.0 and it's 1.0. So I would love to get some participatory insight
Mm-hmm.
into how we get to 1.0. There's a lot of pieces there. There's a lot of roles
Mm-hmm.
that have to be fleshed out. This is stuff they told us. This isn't stuff I'm imagining anymore. They told us there would be a council operative and a mercenary guild operative. What's going to be the difference? How are you thinking about that? What's the design brief? I'm using their language.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's enough people like me that want to see all that are here for the journey of how the sausage is made and want to give them feedback, right? Also,
Okay.
that it becomes worth it to do, and to Fastcart's point, that the funding that we give through the subscriptions can be used for some of that.
I think I'm gonna have to make a New Year's resolution saying I need to learn new words like participatory. That's a good word. I'm gonna try to use that one. So thank you.
I was thinking we were going to go to our next topic. When you said people wanting to see the sausage being made, I know quite often people will say, "Oh, people don't like seeing the sausage being made." It made me think of when I went with a group of people who thought they wanted to see what an embalming looked like, and when it was time, they all ran out the
Ew.
door. They all ran out the door.
No.
So I'm just thinking that sometimes that's how I feel about this. Sometimes it's like some people really don't want it. They really don't want to see it. They really don't want to see it. All right, let's jump to this next one here. This one's come up before in the past. The funding model, and I want to run some ideas past you all, and get your thoughts on it. And these first two that we're going to talk about have come up before. We know that CIG, back in the day, there were only a few starter packages, but now CIG has expanded these different ways to enter into the persistent universe. We still have some base starter packages that start at a low amount of like $45 or something like that. And then we've got the more what they call uh, there's a new term that they use for these, what do they call it when you're starting out, not journey, generalist. They have this generalist package, or they have the advanced starter package. They've got these different ways that you can come in at either 45 or like 75, or like the package they have with the golem and the golem, what's it called, the golem
Salvation.
ox,
The
no, the
Golem
Ox.
ox.
Oh
Ops.
yeah,
And so
Yeah.
yeah.
like those two come together as a starter package if you're into mining, and they've got the new salvation. So do you guys feel, and we had talked about this, I think we even predicted it, that CIG was going to have that starter packages would be one of the ways that they could generate revenue, uh, if they got to a point where, and the question is always, well, will they still sell ships? And I know I said, I think that they should do starter packages like what they're doing now. They should expand that. The other thing was cosmetics, right? Right now, cosmetics have lent themselves to either armor, weapons, paint, furniture for your, items for your flare, for your hangar, things of that nature. Um, and then, of course, there's merchandise, right? So those we've covered. And so I'm not going to really put any heat on you guys on those two because that's what's going on right now in the game. It's this next one. And I
Hmm.
made a proclamation a while back
I
when
was there.
when I was asked if CIG went to a subscription model for Star Citizen, would you? be willing to pay it. And I said,
before you tell him, let me
okay,
set where we were.
okay, okay.
We were on Hurston. We were at Lorville. We were at the garages. We were pulling out, I think it was the Ursa versus the Lynx, to see what fit in the constellation, everything. Did everything still fit, et cetera, et cetera? And I was getting in one of those ground vehicles when I heard Griff say this, and because it was so declarative, I remembered a moment. But what'd you tell him? What'd you say?
I said, absolutely not. I will not play this game if they go to a subscription model. I said, they can do a whole lot of things, but if they go to a subscription model, I will not play this game. Okay, because I don't want them to do a subscription model. Now, some of
And it
that,
was the first time it stood out to me because it was the first time I ever heard you declare that there would be anything that would make you go, I'm out.
yeah, that would make me not play the game.
Right.
And some of this came from a lot of things. In my gaming history of games I've done subscriptions for and all this other stuff. But I recently, very recently, as of this week, in fact, I shared this with Sirius, that my perspective has changed. Now, there are going to be some people going to think, well, yeah, your perspective changed because you just got too much invested in the game. Actually, it's not that. The reason why I didn't want the subscription model is because I had so much invested in the game. I had put so much money into backing and the subscriptions and all this other stuff that I felt that I paid my dues. You know, I paid my dues, and so it's like no, I've paid my dues in time of how long I've been involved in this project. But I watched a video that was done by Grolo, which I should have brought right now. But Grolo has a great little short out there.
Maybe we can link it in the description for
Yeah,
this video.
I'll try to make sure I do that. And he was talking about the game PAX Day, which I'm also playing. And he was saying, and this was about PAX Day in particular, he said that he basically said, when did gamers get to a point of feeling that it is better to have in-game purchasing than paying a subscription? And as he went on about it and talked about it more, he said these games have to be supported financially in order for these worlds to continue. Whether it's the back end services, whether it's the networks, whether it's the all the stuff that has to go on behind the scenes to keep not only a game current and running, but to keep it fresh, to keep new materials coming, fixes, analysis, all that stuff still has to be paid for once a game is launched. It doesn't just stop at that point. It still has to get funding from someplace. And I thought about that and I said, you gave money to this project to support the development, not the ongoing future for 20 years. you know, my money went to develop the game, to build out the game, to see the game come to fruition. Now, once the game comes into fruition, where do you go? What do you do? Now, I thought about that because I was sharing with Sirius, he and I joked about this. I started playing Elder Scrolls Online back in 2014, 15. And I swear to you, for like 8 years, they were getting $14.95 out of me a month. And for like 6 of those years, I didn't play it. I didn't even realize I was
Mm-hmm.
giving away money every month to them, right? And I come back and I got $1,000,000 in my account. And it's like, whoa, I forgot I was. And so I said, you know what? I'm doing the subscription right now for CIG. I'm paying a monthly subscription for that to support what we talked about earlier. So the question at that point became, if I'm invested in this, and when I mean invested, I don't mean money wise, guys. I'm talking about this is something I'm committed to and I believe in. You know, what do I do now that I've got the ships and we've got the everything's done and the thing is built and we're at 1.0. And I'm not even talking about beyond 1.0. I'm just talking about once the game is supposedly out there and being played, should I continue to support it in some way so that it can continue to play, that I can continue to have fun, that I can continue to see new things come? So that's the long and short of my story. That yes, I'd be willing to give a subscription. Nothing ridiculous, but I would be willing to do a monthly subscription if it meant that it kept the game vital, the company vital, content coming, improvements, all that good stuff. Okay, so that's my speech. So I'll go to you guys. Your thoughts on any of the things, the starter packages, cosmetics, or in particular the subscriptions. Anything about that you guys want to say? If they do that,
I'll try to go first. Um, yeah, if they okay, there's a bunch of ways I can come at this. So first of all, I want to say they have said in the past that they will not have a subscription model that will,
Mm-hmm.
be reminiscent of World of Warcraft or Star Wars: The Republic before they went free to play. They don't intend, put it that way. They don't intend to have a subscription model to pay to fund the game that way. They do have a current subscription model that pays for behind the scenes and the video production work.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as we know, as far as they've said, that's the subscription that they intend to keep, or they won't switch that into the game. Now, having said that, if they change their mind and said we are wrong, I personally would be okay with it. But I'm an old school gamer. I'm used to paying subscription for games. But the problem is today is that we got Netflix, we got Amazon Prime, we got Hulu, we got Disney Plus, we got Paramount, we got Peacock, we got so many other subscriptions going on now. It's kind of I feel like I'm being nickel and dime when it comes to subscriptions. So you know, for me, I would have to find a budget. I probably have to give up something like one of those subscriptions in order to put it to Star Citizen, but I'm willing to do that. Not many people would be willing to do that. So maybe I don't know what kind of percentages or stuff like that they have. Maybe CIG could do a survey. They did a survey at the end of 2025. Maybe they could do a survey saying who would be willing to pay for subscription. I think that would be interesting,
Yeah.
and we probably won't know the result until it said declaratively that we're switching or we're not switching. But I think that would be interesting for them to figure out. So me personally, I would be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the game packages, like the cheapest game package right now is $45. I'm looking at it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It do go as low as 42 or 40, depending on the time of year, like IE or Invictus, and they have this special things where it's $40. It used to be back in 2014, the cheapest package was like 20 or 25. But as time goes on, they said that the ships and stuff will increase in price. They've already said that. So people who complain about ship prices are saying that they are not paying attention. They said that, especially with concept ships, they will increase with price. So I predict, it's $45 now. Maybe when Squadron 42 releases or Star Citizen releases, it'll be $60. We don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did that.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be able to sustain their budget if they just did it that way. I think they'll still need concept shipping. Well, I think we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said some of the things I was meditating on as Griff was talking, which is the $45 starter package seems to be the starter package that has caught the attention of backer and observer alike, right? Um, to your point, fast card, there was a $20. I don't know if that got you a Star Citizen package. I think that got you
Yeah,
a
back
strip.
then.
Oh, did
Yeah,
it?
no,
Okay.
your package. Yeah. You
So what we
got your Garden 42 and Star Citizen.
wow. So what we know is $45 in 2018 is about $58. Let's round it up to $60 now. So it doesn't surprise me. People were like, well, how could there be inflation on a JPEG? Well, it's really the inflationary factor is, you think, well, when they had it for $45, what were they paying for at CIG with that money? Right. And all of those costs have gone up. Right. And so it doesn't surprise me that a good portion of the packages are now $60 and that they've kept a $45 one. But that they've let the $20 one go, right? Because that doesn't have the inflationary legs that I think would be required to be responsible in a company. So I get it. The the funding model around subscriptions is an interesting one, and I look at it, where you stand on stuff depends on where you sit, of course, but, my perspective is, uh, having about 4,000 hours in, like, Elite Dangerous, right? And Elite got, they had a funding model up front where I paid, like, a lifetime pass for Elite that was supposed to get me season after season of content. There was really like a season and then another half season and then Odyssey, but that neither here nor there. But then they got a good amount from me in cosmetics,
Mm.
right? Nothing like my investment in Star Citizen, but a good amount for Elite Dangerous. I would lament. I think Star Citizen would be a failure if it had the development progress of Elite Dangerous,
Mm.
right? And so if Frontier Developments was looking at the money they got from cosmetics, for example, and we're saying, well, this is the development we can do and the developers we can hire on the basis of what we get from that. And the development we got in Elite Dangerous is reflective of what cosmetics gets you. Cosmetics will not be enough for Star Citizen, right? And so um and it could be very much not just chicken and egg, or I don't know, apples and oranges. It could be apples and ladders, right? That's how different those two things could be. But from my experience, it doesn't look like cosmetics may be enough. I worry about that because I do want ongoing fresh experiences. I want every system that was named in the stretch goals over time, and that's going to cost something, right? Um, so I would not be surprised at a subscription model. I may have to fastcart's point, go from all of these other subscriptions I have to just Netflix and a VPN, so that I can play Netflix, all around the world to try and get some of this content, and then use that for Star Citizen.
Don't say that out loud. It comes to your account if you say it out loud. Don't do
Yeah, I can't say it out loud.
that.
Um, but I would be willing to do that, in order to have this lifetime expansion, your lifetime universe sim that have for years thought it was going to be for me. So.
Okay. Okay. Uh, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say to that.
Well,
Yeah. No,
I don't want to
and
do it.
yeah,
I don't want to do it
yeah, yeah.
because
I
I
mean,
feel
it.
I
Go
feel
ahead.
the way you feel, right? Which is
Yeah.
like I have given tens of thousands of dollars to this project, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I have I have already given. But
Yeah.
to your
mhm.
point, you've given it to get it to this point, right? Eight
Mhm.
nine hundred $950 million divided by 14 years, divided by 1,100 employees is just a little bit over the median household income per employee in the UK,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're not talking about them walking around all that whole time with $950 million and going, well, why can't you plan better when you have $1 billion in your pocket? That's not how it worked, you
I
know.
guess I should
So.
look at it as like a charitable thing. Like for 50 cents a day, you can also play. Something like that. Maybe that's my fourteen ninety
Maybe.
No,
five a
no,
month. My
no,
14.95 a month.
no.
Mm.
For less than the cost
Coffee,
of a
coffee, coffee,
Starbucks
coffee.
coffee,
Right?
yeah,
Coffee. Yeah. Right.
you can support a developer of your choice.
Yeah.
You could have Chris Roberts with a Pico going, you
Yeah.
could save this Pico right now.
No, but I wanted to say something. I misspoke earlier. I said concept. I noticed that, and I should clarify because they said they won't do concept. That they do the battle cruiser and that'll be the last concept.
Yeah.
I meant new ship sales. New ship sales. When a new ship come out, they'll sell out ships. So that'll be another way they can still make money.
Yeah. I do understand the no concept thing in the sense of concepts, and that there's this long, who knows how long it'll take, 1 year or 8 years before a ship comes out. But actually, I like the idea of them announcing a ship that's coming out,
Hmm.
and that it builds hype. but I would rather
And
that
feedback.
right, but I would rather that they announce it when they actually know. Like if they make the announcement, it means that the ship's going to come out in the next patch or the next, 6 whatever. You know what I mean? Like they know it's going to come out, not have to wait for it. Because one, what I always want them to do is to announce it and give a discount for those people who like a pre-order. Like if you want the ship, you
Hmm.
pre-order it, and but if you decide to wait, it maybe cost you a little bit more, like that is normal, like it is now. But I don't want them to announce things and there's this wait process for people. I think if they say that like we know it's going to come out in the next patch, then that should be the only way they should do it. Otherwise, I don't want to get back into this whole thing of ships being backlogged or any of that stuff.
Different. That's a whole other kind of one when you mention pre-order, because there's an anti-pre-order sentiment going around for past 5 6 years.
Yeah,
So
but
yeah,
we've been
that's a
pre-ordering,
whole other kind of
but we've
one.
been pre-ordering in this game since it came out. That's what concepts are. They're pre-orders. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
hey,
they
Hey,
if you
just they've
I'm
done
not
well.
disagreeing with you.
I hear
They've
you.
done
Go
well
ahead.
by not calling it
Yeah,
pre-order,
I wouldn't
right?
call it
Right.
pre-order. No, I wouldn't call it pre-order.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But that
Okay,
is
I
what
yeah.
it is.
yeah, I get what you're saying though, fast cart. You're absolutely right. Okay, let's hit this next topic. We hit funding. Okay, this one we can have a little fun with. This is just a little bit of extra theory crafting here.
Mm.
CitizenCon 2956. There was a lot of mixed bag feelings about CitizenCon Direct in 2955. And I think that for the most part, Sirius, you alluded to this earlier, the supporters and backers were willing to give some latitude as long as the priority was that they were focusing on Squadron 42, you know, and to pull resources, to pull time. And we all of us have been to Citizen Cons before. They are no small task to put together. A serious Fast Cart worked on the sidelines with us, but we did Quantum Vegas, and it took us a year to pull that together for 2 to 300 people. So I can't imagine a 4,000 attended event capacity event, how much work it takes to not only the logistics side, but even for the developers. They have to put in some time to make presentations and things like that. And not that it takes their focus off of what they're doing. And to your point, they are trying to get Squadron out. Our last Squadron newsletter, in fact, came out, and I looked all over that letter for the hint that was saying it ain't coming out this year. And in big bold letters on the bottom, it said 2026. I'm like, okay, they're still pushing to get it out this year. Um, what do you guys think about CitizenCon 2956? Should it be a platform? First of all, where would you like to see it happen? Would you like to see it happen? And do you think that Squadron 42, how do you think Squadron 42 should be engaged in it? Like, what would Squadron 42 mean to CitizenCon, or what does CitizenCon mean for Squadron 42? Whichever way you want to look at it. Whoever wants it, jump in.
Okay.
Go
You
ahead.
want to
Go
go?
ahead. Go ahead,
All
Fast
right.
Car.
First question is
So
where? First question is where? Where would you like to see it?
first question, where I'm still saying Montreal or Canada this time,
Okay.
because they've already said they're not doing Los Angeles. Well, they don't have a Los Angeles office anymore. So people actually that I mean they've already done it. The last one was in Europe, so they're supposed to come in North America. Typically, that would be Austin because the Los Angeles office is closed, but I'm hoping Montreal. Um, what was the other part?
CitizenCon this year, do you think they'll have it? And
Oh,
if so, how
okay.
does Squadron 42, how do they, between those two, how do they work together or whatever?
That's a good question. Should they have it? I think there's something to be said for having a physical gathering with a whole bunch of like-minded people. I think it hypes up the community and it hypes up the developers. But I understand they got a lot of work to do this year to get Squadron 42 out. If I were to make a prediction, I don't think they'll have a physical one this year. I think it'll be another digital one this year because they want to get Squadron 42 out. But that's my guess. That's my opinion. I want to be wrong. I want them to have a physical one. And if they do have a physical one, I hope it's in Montreal. But I also want to say that yes, it will. I think it will tie into Squadron 42 this year. I mean, it can't not tie into Squadron 42 this year because they still What was the last thing that said that they haven't started the marketing for Squadron 42 yet, but they're going to, or I forget the exact
The
wording, but
language, the language, and I'm paraphrasing, but the language Chris Roberts used was when they do start marketing, it won't be a long campaign. And the reason he used was because they've already put out a bunch of videos and trailers and features.
right.
I struggle with that reasoning, but that's what he said. And so it sounds like there's going to be a short, tight, intense campaign. And then he finished with something along the lines of, when we're ready, you and the whole gaming industry will hear from us. So,
And I can understand that because they did a big marketing push for Squadron 42 back in 2015. They had the primary actors. They went on the game award with Mark Hamill, so they've already done that, and the game didn't come out. So I think that they probably had all this footage behind the scenes stuff that they can just release now because they've already done it before. So I can see them doing that. But as far as like kind of into CitizenCon, I wouldn't say that CitizenCon Direct this year, if they have a Direct, it'll be primarily Squadron 22. I think maybe it'll be like it was 2 hours in 2025. Maybe it'll be 4 hours in 2026, and half of it will be Star Citizen, and half will be Squadron 42, or maybe some ratio close to that. Maybe we'll have to see, but that's my prediction. What I will say though, the goodie bag better not be $40 or $45. So that $35 goodie bag, that was ridiculous. Don't be doing that, CIG. No.
I you ever see something that happens all the time? It happens all the time, and then they want to change it up. So on the screen, they'll put a big red stamp on it and exit out and tell you what the new thing is. I think that they need to do that with CitizenCon this year. I think they need to say CitizenCon and then put a big red stamp on it and say Squadron Con,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
And and
Squad Con.
Squad Con, right? Or Squadron Con, one of the two, right? And I think that a culmination of a Invictus to Squadron Con May to October marketing campaign where they release at or listen, if somebody goes to Squadron Con and can't play Squadron 42 because they're at the con and people are at home playing it, they're gonna lose their mind. So release
Mm.
it the day after or 2 days after Squadron Con. Um, and maybe for the people that go to Squadron Con, they get access to the deluxe super edition with the life-size Van Duel or whatever, you know. Um, but I think Citizen Con next year ought to be Squadron Con. I think they ought to use events and bar citizens and anything else that happens.
You didn't tell us
And
where. Where?
where? So there used to be a studio called Foundry 42,
Mm.
and Brian Chambers and those at Foundry 42. There are pieces of it that were in the UK, but there are pieces of it that were in Hamburg.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, if they did a Squadron Con, the easiest thing for me would for it to be in Montreal because I could drive to it.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the best thing for them to do would be to put it in something like Hamburg,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You put it in Hamburg, you're not
Mm.
far from Cologne and Gamescom,
Mm.
right? You still have all the people that will come from Manchester and UK because they can come by train,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're centered around the historic folks who have been delivering on Squadron 42, the Brian Chambers group over there.
Mm.
Um, Again, for me, the best thing would be Montreal because I could just drive up there,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think the best thing for the experience of Squadron 42 would probably be Hamburg.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
I
Okay.
just want to hop in real quick on serious one point. The way you describe that, 2 days later they'll leave Squadron 22. That'll be the one more thing that they would like to do on another show. So I can see that. I can see that in my head. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So for me, I agree with you. I've always said ever since the year before last or whatever that I would love for them to go to Montreal. Nothing against Austin. Love Austin. We've been to LA, we've been to Manchester. But if they do decide to, fast carts, you mentioned it, normally there's a North America, Europe thing that happens. If they were to come to the States, I would love for them to go to Montreal. Uh, the studio there. Obviously, we've never been there before, and I think it would just be a great opportunity to go there. And again, for us, it's a no-brainer. If they did have it in Germany, I would love to go to Germany as well. And I think that to your point, uh, that's the home base for Squadron 42. And so to be able to go there, I think would be just as fine. Now, if they also decided to just go back to their headquarters in the UK in Manchester, that would be understandable too. Obviously, there's a lot of love from Manchester for CIG being there, and so it would be a boon both for that city as well as for CIG because most of their people are still based at the UK headquarters in Manchester. So. Yeah, I think we're all in kind of good accord. We would love to see as North Americans. We would love to see it in Montreal, but we also would understand if they placed it someplace else. I'm going to speed through these because we're already at 50 minutes, and I want to see if we can get this done within an hour. I want to have another fun subject. No, you know what? I'm going to jump to the next subject since we're talking about Squadron, because I was going to close out with that. But let's go ahead and jump into, since we're on Squadron a little bit, predictions. I know we've done this on our regular show before, but I want to hear what you guys think. Release or not release for 2026, and how much? And if you want to stagger it, if you got some pricing plan in your head,
Oh, okay. How much did it cost?
want to hear what you think about that. So, Sirius, I'm going to come to you first this time. Release or not release is the first question.
So it's definitely going to release.
Okay.
It's going to release in October.
Okay. Oh, real prediction. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
PS5 games are $69 to $79.
Okay.
Deluxe and collector's editions are $90 to $120.
Okay.
I think that's what they're going to do. I think Squadron will come out for $69.99 on PC with a later date for consoles. That's my hot space opinion, that Squadron will eventually be a console game on the PlayStation and Xbox.
Okay.
And then they'll have a collector's deluxe edition with the Behind Enemy Lines DLC that was promised in the stretch goals for $90 to $120 with a little figure. And then they will have 1,000 Ultimate Editions for $999
With a watch?
with the wooden RSI door.
Okay. So give me those price points again. What were they again?
$69.99.
Okay.
99 to 120 for the deluxe, and then $999 for the
Lord.
super
Okay.
the Legatus edition.
Okay. All right, FC, the first question, release or not release this year?
I think that'll release this year. For the date, October wouldn't make sense. I wouldn't be surprised if it's December because it got delayed. But
Okay.
October, I think they'll probably shoot for October.
Okay.
That's my prediction. They'll probably shoot for October. If they miss it, it'll be December.
Okay.
And
price?
for cost,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'm still going. Chris Pop is old school. I think he'll still keep it old school. The base price will be $60, up from $45, and they have a deluxe at $80 or $79.99, and they have a ultimate or whatever what they call it, premium for $99.99 or $100. Now, the thing is, back in the day before 2017, they used to sell physical packages for Star Citizen 42. What I would love to see is for them to start shipping those to us who ordered those. So I would love to see my physical package that I had in my hangar since 2014 delivered to my front door. And so
Fastcart is looking for his USB drive that holds all of Squadron 42 on it, right?
No, it'll just be the launcher. It'll just be the launcher. It won't be the whole game. Because USB drive is cheap now.
I know.
So
I'm just being funny.
I know.
I just threw out 15 Half-Life 2 3.5-inch discs. So
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm still saying I'm saying 60, 80, and 100 for the cost, and hopefully we'll get our physical package.
Okay.
Yes, it will be released this year.
Okay. I know that there has been a lot of trepidation, a lot of feelings with the community gaming industry in general with the releasing of GTA 6, and that has been the thing that has put the spin on everybody, not just in Star Citizen but other games as well. But I want to throw these at you. One of the things I've said is that I'm not, and I when they first made the announcement of GTA 6, it was coming out in March. I said it's going to get pushed again. It's going to get delayed. And it wasn't because I have any hatred toward it. I love GTA franchise, but I was like, we're not seeing enough about it yet. And sure enough, it got pushed back now again. There's still that possibility that
Hmm.
GTA could push again. And many of us have said, listen, CIG, just put it out. Just don't launch it the same day as GTA, right? Just put it out. Okay. So let me give you some numbers here. March of this year is GDC. Okay. And to your point, series, he said it's not going to be a long marketing campaign. But some people have believed that he will say go back to GDC because that's where he made his announcement. Now,
Mm.
my idea is just keep an eye on GDC. That doesn't mean we're going to see a trailer or anything, but it does mean let's see if Chris Roberts shows up at GDC at an industry event to talk to industry people about here's our progress of where we are, something like that, right? And there'll be an announcement coming soon. I would love to see something like that as be one of the first indicators. The next one after that, though, to your point, series, is Gamescom. Now, Gamescom is in August and in Germany, okay, in Cologne. So if we're talking about that short window, serious, at that point, we're 2 months before CitizenCon, right? And we're 4 months before the end of the year, fastcart. So I'm seeing this as being a great window on the game industry side worldwide for people to be exposed to Star Citizen. And we know how people responded to the Squadron 42 45-minute presentation, the prologue that we saw. I agree with you, Fast Cart, and do you serious that there's enough material out there that they can compile some things that can be presentations and new trailers that lead into this. We don't have to see new stuff, but it could be just new cuts of how they've done some things, and it could be getting introduced at that point. Now, how does CitizenCon fit into that? I think that CitizenCon can become the official announcement to the community because the community has been the ones behind it. But I do agree with Fastcart that I think that it will push somewhere between CitizenCon and the end of the year, whether that's uh, during Thanksgiving when IAE is going on or right before the Christmas holidays. It needs to be able to be out there. And I know there are a lot of people who are right off the bat, and I hate when people do this. I hate it. Oh, it's going to have a lot of bugs when it comes out. And it's sad that we as gamers, the industry has just made us automatically know that a product is going to come out jacked up. Now, mind you, some of it comes from the fact that the scale of what CIG is doing, that they're introducing some new things, and there's concern that once it's put on the mass market, that there may be stuff that may arise. And I'm not denying that that could be a possibility, but I believe that it's important for CIG to launch that game as smoothly as possible, as best
Hmm.
as possible. Um, and so we haven't had a release game from Chris Roberts in years. But back in his day, when you released games, they released working. They didn't release where you had to get a patch the next day.
Because they were on physical media,
They
they
were
had to.
exactly,
CDs.
exactly, exactly. And so I'm hoping that they are doing everything they can to make sure that when this game launches, it has a good launch. You know, nothing crazy happens where people are unable to experience the game on day one. Now, if there's some other weird bug that pops up later, I can live with that. But I really hope that their quality control, because there's so much riding on this game being successful, regardless to if GTA 6 comes out before or after or whatever, it's important that the experience is good because this experience also projects people into the persistent universe later. And so people don't need to have a bad taste in their mouth. There's already going to be the issue of dealing with distinguishing Squadron from Star Citizen because once people realize that these two things are part of the same thing, they're going to be some people like, hey, isn't that game that was a scam, or isn't that the game that they're still working on, or they haven't finished that game? How are they putting out another game? I can hear all that coming along with it as well. So it's important to me, and I think hopefully to CIG, that launch be a very, very good launch. Okay, and it shows what the wait has been for, not just to new people, but even to the community and the people who've been supporting it all this time. Okay,
Let me respond to that. I'll try to be quick.
sure.
CIG already have a telemetry page, so they already get the information from people playing Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, because of that telemetry that they receive,
Mhm.
they'll be able to work that out and port that to Squadron 42, and so it'll be work on most people's system because they're so tied together.
Mhm.
There will be some outliers saying, it won't work on my PC because of this,
Mhm.
that's just the way games are. But hopefully, because of the telemetry that they currently have, it'll be minimized.
Yeah.
And I said it before the show, but I'm gonna say it now. I think we're going to see new levels of negativity when it comes to people putting out information about Star Citizen 2042. Like it's had ups and downs in the past few years, and it's been kind of down, maybe in my opinion, from what I've seen
Mhm.
the past couple of years. But I think this year the negativity will see a rise, and it'll be unfortunate. I don't want it to be that way, but I think that's the way it'll be this year.
Okay.
Why do you think that?
Because they announced the 2026, and the closer they get to the end of the year, and there's no game, the higher that people will be saying scam or CIG doesn't know what it's doing, stuff like that.
Oh, so you're saying
So
before, if it does, even before the launch, there'll be, as we're getting closer to it, there'll be more,
Right.
not after it
Right.
comes out. Okay.
No. No.
so
No.
let me ask you this, and this is a question that rides the tension between what you've just said and what Griffin said. If it requires pushing the game to the middle of 2027
Mm.
for it to be bug free, should they do that?
See,
I mean,
that's a tough one.
is there a thing as such thing as bug free these days? And I'm just asking it rhetorically because
No,
I
there isn't.
No, there isn't.
so
In fact, if it's almost like a AAA game
it's expected to have
is
bugs.
expected to have
Yeah,
some.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's
Thus,
what Griffin said.
it can't be game stopping or game breaking, right?
You're right, 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 right.
But yeah, but would you wait and miss again on a date that you've proclaimed in order to have more of a bug free experience?
I don't think that'd be. For me personally, I think that it'd be better for them to just put it out 2026. I mean, maybe it depends on the level of bugs, on the quantity of bugs, or quality of bugs. I mean, if the quality of bugs is so big, yes, maybe they should push it back. But I think if they have a lot of little bugs and it still works, go and put it out there and then put out a day one or day two patch to fix those. My opinion.
Griff?
There's a difference
Yeah.
between it being bugs and not ready, right?
Mm.
Mm.
There's a big difference. There are people who felt like that Starfield was not ready, that it needed more time. There were people who felt that Cyberpunk was not ready, right? And there's a big difference in not ready versus bugs. And again,
But they can't be not ready and come out.
what I'm just saying, and Cyberpunk was not ready. You know what I mean? It wasn't ready. And so what I'm saying is, if we're talking about not ready, then yeah, you got to wait. You know, CIG will get a 1 year, not a 1 year pass. They'll get one pass, right? All companies get that one pass, right? Everybody's got anticipation. They got,
You say that, Griff, man.
Starfield.
I think it'll be a double standing.
No, no, no. Let me finish. Because I was going to connect something with that. Starfield had an 11/11 whatever date was, right? And they got that
Mhm.
one pass. GTA, they can afford to do another pass because there's so much
Mm.
anticipation on that game. People want that game to be good. Okay. Star Citizen is going to have a critique on them, but that pass is usually given to all games, even if people don't like it. People will, and there are plenty of people in the community who have said, yeah, I ain't gonna like it, but I want the game to be well. For me, it's not about me worrying about a bug-free experience. It's a business decision at this point, right? And I'm outside of that decision. What level of a hit can they take if the game is got bugs in it versus not ready? If it's not ready, they don't need to put it out. But if it's got bugs,
I think they got two business decisions
mm-hmm,
on either side of them.
mm-hmm,
They've got the business decision of reputation,
yeah,
because unlike all those other companies, this is a company who's already told you the game is coming out and it didn't come out.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, yeah,
Right?
agreed. Agreed.
And so that's what they're known for.
Mhm.
If anybody knows Squadron 42, they know, oh, answer the call,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it didn't come out.
Yeah.
And then
2014, 2016.
right, and then you have the business decision of you put something out after all this time and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That can't happen either. So they've got a bunch of things that I feel like they're stuck in a place where two things that really cannot happen are on either side of them. They cannot
Agreed.
miss.
Agreed.
Once if they had done better
Mhm.
doing that 1 hour presentation, finishing it and
Mhm.
giving no date than giving 2026 and missing 2026.
Mhm.
Right? They didn't have to tell us 2026, but they
Mhm.
did.
Yep.
And so now you told us 2026, and you know that we know that you gave us a date before and missed it. And that's been the lamentation this whole time
Mhm.
is you don't know what you're doing because you give dates and miss them and don't give dates unless you're sure and all this other stuff of why give a date if you don't have to. And then they heard all that and gave a date anyway.
Mhm.
And it's a whole year, which
Yeah.
people thought, oh, well, if it's a year, that means they think they're going to be ready maybe the first quarter of the year. They'll spend the rest of the time polishing and planning their marketing. But it seems like they're, the way that Jared has enacted what's happening, it feels like something a little bit more intense than that,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so you got that on the one side, and then on the other side, you can't take 14 years and give a game that has any major bugs in it and doesn't work.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
way that they skewer, that you have those bug compilation videos for
Yeah.
Starfield and for Cyberpunk and for a bunch of games. The way they skewer those games, they'll spend they will take lunch on Squadron 42.
That's what I mean by negativity too. Like there'll be new levels of negativity before and probably after. But I mean, to your point, I can see so many news articles saying they've accumulated $1 billion and the game is this buggy.
Right.
I can see
No matter how the level of bugging is.
I can see him giving us the trophy for Duke Nukem Forever. That's what I could see him doing. It's like, here it is.
There is a narrow path through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the narrow path through is deliver it in the year you said and it needs to work.
Yes.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's why I come all the way back to I get why other stuff is relatively on hold, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that narrow path through, they've got to go hard for that narrow path through.
Yeah.
142 will be the new Half-Life 3.
Oh God. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right, we're gonna wrap this show up with this last one. We're gonna have a little fun with this one. Two of us can talk about it, and one of us is gonna be interested in it, I'm sure. And that is something that happened at the very end of this year, and that is the impact of VR. An experimental VR patch was dropped unexpectedly at the end of the year, along with the engineering patch. And I could say that the three of us were around when there was a little hint given by Sean Tracy about VR when we were at Quantum Vegas. And lo and behold, we found out that there were some employees at CIG who were working in their own time to help work on this, who have a love for VR. And it was dropped in. Sirius has had an opportunity to experience it. I've had an opportunity to experience it. Fastcart's computer has been in and out of the shop, and so he hasn't had a chance. Plus, he doesn't have a VR headset, I don't think, right? Okay.
I don't have a VR headset and I get motion sick.
Okay. Oh, and you get motion sick. Okay. And
How
so,
you gonna get motion sick and your name is Fast Cart?
and so,
Hey,
You got a fast cart.
hey, I'll be
You are
quick
in
with this.
motion.
I'll be quick with this. If I'm in control of the vehicle, I'm
you're
fine. If
fine.
I'm in the side seat or back seat, that might
Forget
be
it.
trouble.
Well, here,
They have some features in this implementation that might help you actually.
well,
So
this is what I want to talk about in relation to this impact of VR. For those of you who don't know, VR is not a new element to Star Citizen. Way back in the early 20 teens, the CIG even went to the Oculus headquarters and they were talking about VR. And there have been people who've been, I remember back when Arena Commander, people were flying around Arena Commander using VR. There were ways to hack it and make it work. And we've got some great people in the community like Chachi and other people who've been strong proponents of VR for Star Citizen, but it has not been set up in a native way in the game for people to easily access it and use it. Um, and so just this first iteration, this experimental that we got, literally blew people away. It blew away people who are a part of the Star Citizen community. There are people who were outside of the community who heard about it and have stepped in and tried it out. And they are seeing Star Citizen for the first time and they say it is amazing. Now, there are critiques and there are understandings. One, this is the first iteration of it. Two, it's experimental. Three, it has a long way to go. But on the other side, people are impressed with what has been presented. Now, I know that I've had the opportunity to go in a few times and try it out. Took me a lot to try to figure out how to get it to run because Sirius had just gotten a new Oculus and he got in and boom, it was no big deal. For me, I was struggling. I had to bang on the pipes to make things happen before I finally got it to work. Um, but my question to you guys is this: with all the excitement of VR, and I will say this, VR does, and I'm trying to discern this. So Sirius, I may need your commentary on this a little bit. I'm trying to separate my enthusiasm for seeing the world in a new way, but the problems still exist. The game's problems still exist. There's a part of this seeing the game in a new way that actually made me forget about all that wasn't working with Star Citizen because I was seeing it in a different light. So an elevator being busted was not on my mind when I was in VR. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the control tower didn't answer me, it was not on my mind because the VR experience was so overwhelming, but those problems still exist. So I'm trying to be very sober minded with how this introduces a new way to play the game. But the thing that I want to tie to this, and I know I'm being long winded, but I'm trying to tie all this thought together so you both can respond to this. There is a very small percentage of gamers who have VR. The bulk of Star Citizen people are not going to experience this, at least not right away, unless they decide to once again invest even more money, at a minimum $250, at a maximum $2,500 to be able to get this experience. Would I go out and tell somebody to go buy a VR headset? I would say no, not now. Definitely not now. What I would say is if you're a VR person and you want to see what it's like, jump in. For sure, jump in and see it because it'll blow your mind to see it. Um, so my question to you guys is, and Fastcard, you being someone who doesn't have VR, there are people like Fastcard though who even if they had VR, they get sick from it. They can't do it. They would love to, but they're going to miss out on that experience too. So how does this work? Is this going to be just something for the few, you know? Or will it be something that will actually spur? I mean, VR has been trying to get better and better, and it is getting better and better each year. It's moved from a novelty to becoming a gaming standard. But are people going to, just like they feel that their HOTAS, their sticks are important, or their Toby is important, are Star Citizen people going to feel and elevate their systems to integrate VR into their normal day-to-day play when it gets better? Or do you think it will still be just a minority of people that are going to, the high-end users that are going to do it?
Yeah,
So you asked him. Oh, go
that's a
ahead.
lot. Go
I
ahead,
know it's a
Pascal.
lot. I know it's a lot. I know.
My prediction is that this will be the game that turns everything into Ready Player One. Remember that? Remember that movie? That's my prediction. No, I think it'll still be niche. I think it'll be fun for some people, not everyone. But that's generally how it is. I don't know if there will be a game, or maybe like Meta will put something out, or Amazon put something out where it's a VR game, but you have to have VR. But this will be this is not a this game allows people to use VR, but it's not a VR game. If that makes sense.
I would say yes,
So
but there are people right now, Go Mob, people right now, CC Creator, who they said they're not taking their headsets off.
yeah, yeah, I've heard them.
They
Yeah, I've
they're
heard them.
they're they're they are. This is the way they play the game now. It's not like a well, I feel like being in VR today, no, they're freaking like this from start to
Like yeah,
end.
I understand. It's like going from a 1080p monitor into a 2K or 4K monitor. You can't go back once you experience it. So I get that, but I still think it won't be Yeah, some people would do it, but I don't. And I think there'll still be a niche market.
Okay.
So that's my opinion. But what was the other part of the question?
That was pretty much it. Just some
Okay.
concerns about will people be willing to spend that money to elevate to the
Oh, I don't think so.
experience? Okay.
I don't think so. Okay. Well, maybe 250, but not the 2,500. Not for Star Citizen.
Okay,
But
the reason
250, maybe.
I want you to understand the difference. The difference in those prices have way more to do with what is a economy consumer friendly product and a product that blows your mind. They're both good. Don't get me wrong. If you've never seen VR, that 250 product is going to look so cool. But
I
if you go
paid.
from go ahead.
I just paid 2,500 for my new PC. That's a whole new PC for me. So no.
No, no, but I'm not talking about right now. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking about as this evolves and as the VR gets fleshed
Mhm.
out, just like how people no, not to be funny, everybody starts out with keyboard and mouse,
Right.
right? But eventually
Get a stick
the
or whatever
experience
you.
moves to a stick, right? And for some people, it moved from HOTAS to HOSAS, right? They went out and bought two sticks, then they got the Toby, and then you see what I'm saying? That's my question. Will that be a progression for the players? Because VR has been kind of like a big like it's like the person who used to own the Laserdisc player. You know what I mean? You know, everybody had a freaking VHS, but there were certain people that
Mhm.
swore about laser discs. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
They
And
all had Star Wars too on
absolutely,
Laserdisc.
absolutely. So that's what I'm wondering is that will it be that niche to your point, right? Those people who just got the laser disc, or will it become as this fleshes out and as the technology fleshes out, we may see not 3% of gamers or 8% of gamers. We may see something like 32% of gamers are doing
Griff, you
VR.
just reminded me. I have a new PC. I'm gonna try to get voice chat working on this thing.
Yeah.
That'll be my
Hmm.
goal for the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So
You'll get it going.
that'll be my thing instead of VR.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
I
hear you.
mean, other people will see. I don't think it'll be a big push. Put it that
Okay.
way.
That's fair. Serious?
Yeah. Uh, for me, the context for your question is that there are evangelists that emerge every time somebody has a breathtaking technological experience, right? To Fastcart's point, when we went from our TVs to those plasma TVs when they were $10,000,
Hmm.
right? People who had them were evangelists for you got to see this,
Hmm.
right? Um, when um, this laptop I'm on is a has a OLED screen. The blacks on this screen when it's OLED HDR
Hmm.
are unparalleled. I tell other people about it. So it really depends on the circles you run in, right? Because when you're in the pre-purchase period of a product, you're getting information. And the information you value the most is your own experience previously with it. But right after that is word of mouth, right? And so if you're around people, if you're in the Soul Citizens Discord and people are saying, I'm never taking my helmet off again, you start thinking about it,
Hmm.
right? Versus if you're in a community and they're all about ultra wide displays, you're going to talk less about VR than you might in that case. That being said, there are some reference level VR experiences that transform, right? Um, the Anne Frank House VR experience,
Hmm.
the Nefertiti's tomb in Egypt VR
You naming
experience.
all the ones I have. I can't believe this. Go ahead. Keep going.
Well, I was going to name one that you named specifically, Air Car,
Oh,
right?
amazing.
And Air Car has no bugs, right? To your point, right? There are
Hmm.
no bugs. You go in, and it's this seminal Blade Runner esque
Hmm.
VR experience. To this day, it's been around for a decade almost.
Yep.
To this day, it
Yep.
still is. Elite Dangerous
Yes.
was a seminal
Mm.
reference VR experience that evangelists who played the game got other people to buy headsets and test different headsets
Mm.
across that experience, right? How black can the inky blacks of space get? How many stars can I see? What's my field of view?
Mhm.
And it pushed VR technology to have these, and Half-Life Alex. You cannot leave
Yes.
out Half-Life Alex, right? Half-Life is a brand that accesses a whole bunch of other gamers, right? They
Mhm.
hear Half-Life and they go, "What?" And it moved VR sales because it was the Half-Life brand,
Yep.
right? And it was like Half-Life 3, it was Half-Life 2.5, right?
Mhm.
But you couldn't get to it without going through the crucible that was VR. So now come into that context comes Star Citizen, and immediately it enters the conversation for what a reference VR experience is,
Mhm.
because the assets are so detailed and the scale is so dramatic that as soon as you put the headset on, you get people saying, "I don't want to take the headset off."
Mhm. Mm.
So right now, it's in the conversation for reference VR experiences. That itself will move sales. The evangelism will move sales. But if they don't fix the bugs in the game,
Mm.
if they don't fix the UI,
Mm.
if they don't make any headset going from any headset to the experience more of a 1, 2, 3 than it is a figure out this behind the scenes and open this debug tool and change this thing. Ain't anybody
Mhm.
doing all that. People can plug in their PlayStation 2 VR headset and it works.
Right. Right. Right.
And people underestimate the genius of Sony in doing it. It plugs it in,
Mhm.
it works.
Yep.
That's it, right? And you can use that headset on your PC, by the way,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So if you buy a PlayStation 2 VR headset, know that you've got a PC VR headset already, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but once they do that, I think they have the chance for the numbers that you were talking about. They have a chance to go from anywhere between 8 to 25%
Mhm.
of the community once it becomes a more seamless 1, 2, 3 experience. They've already got the early adopters, the people who were ready for it.
Yeah.
They've already got them. I mean, just look at the videos.
Mhm.
Folks are on lock,
Mhm.
right? And to your point, people who are VR already are
Mhm.
now coming to Star Citizen because of the experience. But that UI and
Yeah.
that tweaking is going to be a barrier.
Mhm.
Until that's gone, you're not going to see, I don't think, any more but than 3 to 7% adoption,
Mhm.
because it can't be any barriers. There
Yeah.
can't be any friction like that. It's
Yeah.
got to be relatively seamless, even for PC people who are already used to friction,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I think in Fastcard, just so you'll know, I hope you do have the opportunity to see it in VR, because I think you might find that it's not what most VR experiences are. For example, when I'm in the Toby, I only use the Toby when I'm flying. I don't use it for FPS and walking around, because for me
Okay.
it bothers me. You know what I mean? I was a little concerned about that when I went into VR, and when I did it in VR, it didn't bother me at all. Walking around and everything felt normal. To your point though, Sirius, I just bought this brand new 45-inch monitor. And now it's like I put the VR on. I'm not using the monitor anymore. Right? I don't need it. Right?
Oh no!
And
Oh yeah, I'll
so
take it.
yeah.
I'll-
And so, but this is what I will say. I'm not at the point of staying in the VR yet. I'm not there
Right.
yet.
Me neither. Right.
I still enjoy the wide, ultra wide view that I have just as much as the VR. But I will say this is one of the things that once you see it in VR, Fast Card, you now it adds to the understanding of what they've been doing and why so much work has been going on,
Hmm.
because you that had to be put in ahead of time. That didn't get dropped in. You know what I mean? This VR thing had to be a part of the whole plan leading up till now. And
Yeah, he knew you were going to look at that detail, so the detail had to be there.
when you go in, there's stuff you just see, and it just makes you go, wow. It's almost like the very first time when people come into Star Citizen and they get that wow thing, they're like, oh my God. It is the exact same thing in here, where the world, the and I hate using this word, the immersion just exponentially
That's
changes.
only been made a bad word by hate gamers. Don't
Yeah,
worry about that. That's a good
but
word.
no, the reason why I
Immersion
hate the reason why I
good
hate
word.
using it though is because it's used so much that it's become the impact of it gets
It's a
lost.
meme. Yeah.
Yeah.
The impact
Right.
gets lost. I'm saying it exponentially changes. It doesn't just go up a notch. It literally changes the feel. When I took let me tell you, I'm gonna wrap this up. Two things I took out that I was fascinated with: the multi-tool and the fire extinguisher.
Mhm.
Forget the world. Just me taking the multi-tool out and doing this and looking at it, it had an entirely different look to it. I could see every you were talking about the scratches, Sirius, on your ship or something that you saw. You remember we used to
Yeah.
talk about the scratches? No, it's an entirely different thing when you see it in VR. When I took the fire extinguisher and saw the mist fly out, I was like, this is ridiculously cool. You know, so it
Oh, you were
does.
talking about your hair too. Your character's
Oh, my
hair.
character's hair. I went into third person to see my character and the clothing detail. I mean, it already looks detailed when you look at it now. I have a very good monitor. I've got a 3K whatever monitor. I'm seeing pretty good. But when you go in there and see stuff, those individual hairs that Sean Tracy talked about when he did that presentation back in 2023, you see it in the VR. It is, it just looks entirely different. So I think that there will be impact. To your point, Sirius, I think it is interesting to see that people who were not playing Star Citizen heard about it and they have
Mhm.
been doing videos on it and talking about it as well. I hope that every person that plays Star Citizen has a friend or has the opportunity to see it in VR because I do think, like you said, Sirius, when we did it in Elite, when people put that VR in on Elite, they said they could not go back to playing Elite
No.
2D. You
No.
just couldn't do it. And this is another one of those moments when you play a game and you see where your money went. When you put that VR in, you see where the work went. It's
Yes.
hard. I know it sounds like I'm just blowing it out of proportion, but I've really tried to be reserved about the whole VR thing. But
And
I was
It
impressed.
is a sea change,
Hmm.
even for decade-long backers who have been looking at this game.
Yeah.
It is especially for them.
Hmm.
It is to measure it with them is to measure it, right? Because
Hmm.
we've been looking at the Apollo, we're looking at our Aurora forever. But then I
Hmm.
go in VR and I'm like, I have never seen that dent
Hmm.
on my airlock door
Hmm.
on my Aurora, and I realize I'm in the hangar staring at a dent for 5 minutes from every angle.
and
Look at that dent.
just to let people know, Griffin and Sirius, what VR headset are you both using?
I'm using the Quest 3.
I'm in a Quest 2.
Okay.
I'm in a Quest 2. And ironically, I had talked to CC and Sirius before this, as we were coming up to Black Friday. And I said, hey, usually I don't make a leap to a next version on something. I said, is it worth going from a Meta 2 to a Meta 3? And they were like, yes. They were like, yes. And I looked at everything, the specs, and I was ready to jump. I was looking for a Black Friday sale, and they did the Quest 3S, but they didn't do the 3. And I blew it off, and I told my daughter, she said, "What do you want for Christmas?" I said, "Well, we'll give it," and I said, "Nah, let me wait a little bit." And then 2 weeks later, CIG drops the VR thing, so I was glad I waited. And Sirius will tell you, I've been talking to him and CC now, looking at where do I want to go at this next stage because I'm
It,
feeling like I want to go more toward a headset that is designed specifically for what would be sim gaming. You know what I mean?
it sounds like Pimax is going to be a sponsor of the Soul
Yeah.
Citizen show.
He knows what I'm looking at. There's a particular new one that's coming out called The Dream that I'm looking at, but it's a bit of an investment. I'm looking at the Steam one too, but I'm waiting. But believe me, even with what I have right now, I haven't done any tweaks. There are people who've been tweaking and tuning and making it. I haven't done
Mhm.
any of that. I'm still on the basic, just got it running mode. And I said I got to get with Serious to find out a couple things, but it's I'm blown away without even tweaking it. I'm blown away, you know. So again, I think this is going to be we'll follow this technology. We'll follow what CIG is doing with it. If for those of you who are watching this, if you have an opportunity to see it in VR, we're not going to tell you go out and spend a lot of money.
No,
We're not going to tell you that. We're not going to tell you. But you may
because if
have.
you're looking at it on a monitor with HDR and you know ECI 3 color
Mhm.
gamut or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
all that, you got all that. that has value too.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. It's still beautiful. It's not it
yeah,
has nothing to do with the look of the game. It has to do with the immersive side of it. It still looks just
yes.
as beautiful. But if you have someone who has a VR headset and they are willing to let you borrow it so that you can go home and see what it looks like, I would tell you, do it.
I,
Do it.
I went from a 2080 Super to a 5080,
Oh, you've got the
and
rig for it. You've got the rig for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the game is amazing now. I'm like, wait, what is this?
Yeah. Well,
I
well,
haven't
Fastcart,
seen that before.
Fastcart. It sounds like Pimax is going to be a sponsor of the Soul Citizen.
yeah, you never know, right? You never know what it might be. Well, listen, I want to say thank you to both my co-producers, to Fastcart and to Sirius, again for making the time to be here today. We hope you guys have enjoyed our conversation as well. And to our sponsors, these videos are done. The producer series is done particularly for our sponsors and supporters. Those of you who through Patreon, through YouTube, who have faithfully continued to support us. We give you our thoughts off the top of our heads. By the way, there's going to be new format changes coming to the Soul Citizens in 2026 as well. Our show is going to be divided into two parts. We're going to have a 1 hour beginning where we're going to be doing This Week in Star Citizen and talking about all types of things in relation to the community and the game. And then in the second half of our show, we will be doing our topic that we pick, as we always do each week. But we want to kind of give more time to both community as well as development as we go into 2026. So look for that. We're going to be back on January the 11th with that new format. We've even got some new music that we could tell you about as well that our good friend SeriousFun has put together that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. I was, as always, I'm impressed. He threw this song at me and I'm like, okay, this last one he wrote I like, and I like this one too. I got to figure out how to use both of these songs. So you're going to hear both of those songs during our show, just so you guys will know. But we're looking forward to 2026. So as always, we tell you all, please take care of yourselves. Stay safe in 2026. We wish you all the very, very best, and we're looking forward to a great year within the Star Citizen community. So, as we always say, fast cart,
Peace.
love.
And so
Take care, folks.